It's just a passion. It's been inside me for a long time, and it's one of these things that's going to live with me for probably the rest of my life.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. We often think of hospitality as restaurants and cafes, but on-site food operators in sporting venues, on mining sites and in regional posts all play a huge role in feeding people. What's it like being part of one of the world's largest catering food and services company, often working in remote locations and feeding masses of people? John Howie is an executive chef with Sodexo. John, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thanks.
It's great to get you on the show. You've got a role that's not quite like most chefs. You've just come back from a big role in WA. What were you doing over there?
So pretty much my day-to-day job is managing a offshore oil and gas, it's a pretty much gas platform now. So managing all the catering operations on board there for about over 300 people currently. So manage the day-to-day running of all the kitchen operations, all the rostering, the procurement, like ordering and all stuff like that. Just the day-to-day running of a very busy operation. So
that's a lot of people to feed every day, and such a remote situation as well. What's some of the challenges that you face pulling that together?
The procurement one's a big one. Try to get like fresh produce as fresh as possible. We can get it. We get deliveries once a week. It comes via a boat for different areas of Australia. So we get some of our frozen chiller dairy stuff that comes from Perth via road. So it goes from Perth to Darwin. Then we have some local suppliers in Darwin that supply all the fresh stuff like the fruit and veg and stuff like that. So it's a massive behind the scenes operation. So it's a big challenge just to get the stuff there in the first place. So it comes via boat. So that's one of the major ones. Obviously, dealing with people in a remote location where you don't have much of an escape from, because you're living on top of each other. It's a very good facility to work because it's pretty modern and it's got plenty of space and stuff like that. But you're pretty much living with these guys 24 hours a day. So it's that challenge is one of the major ones for myself as well. So,
well, take us into that environment. What's it like for you? Like, how do you get by and make sure that everyone is fed properly and also you don't go mad as well?
I just try and describe it to people that have never done this type of work before. It's just like a big hotel, to be honest, in the middle of nowhere. So it's very much it's run like a hotel. We take care of all the housekeeping, not just the catering. So we do all the housekeeping, the room allocations, all the food, obviously the procurement that I touched on before. So it's pretty much very, very similar to like a large hotel operation or a smaller hotel operation. So.
Tell us a bit about the food that you're creating there and the obligation that you have in regards to everyone's diet and how you balance that over the whole day.
It's a 24-hour operation. We offer breakfast, lunch, dinner, like afternoon tea breaks, like evening tea breaks. So it's pretty much 24-hour operation. So the challenges with that we don't have many like dietary people and stuff that require special treatment. So we're pretty lucky in that sense. But I try, obviously the background I come from doing corporate dining and stuff like that, I try and keep the food as interesting as possible, as fresh as possible, and just vary it up as much as possible just in regards to what we have available at that particular time. It can be quite challenging if we don't get a delivery, for example, where we don't have the freshest of stuff. So it's a day-by-day kind of scenario. So not 2 days are the same, to be honest. So
restaurants are known for a signature dish or two. Is there any sort of dish that really works in those environments that you've sort of used over the years?
Yeah, the guys love the home cooked like stuff like your nice steaks and stuff like that. Because my Scottish background, I've incorporated, there is a lot of Scottish guys there, we've incorporated doing like a Scottish breakfast once a week, which we do haggis, black pudding, Scottish square sausages, potato scones, so things like that. I've become quite well known for doing that there. So Saturday night we kind of tend to go all out where our budget permits. We do like fillet beef en croûte. We do fresh steaks and all that on a Saturday night, depending again what our stores and what our deliveries kind of determine. So yeah, we try and keep it as interesting as possible. It's not too, because of the environment and stuff. Again, it's just an example. Last week we had fresh, like hand pressed Wagyu burgers, fresh brioche buns. Just try and keep it as interesting as possible where the budget permits. So
it's such an interesting and different sort of model to operate in as a chef. What do you love about that sort of environment?
This is me touching on almost probably 7 years in this job, 6-7 years. So it's getting a bit tiresome now with all the travel and stuff. So, yeah. But the thing that it does offer is obviously it offers me a lot of time off throughout the year to spend with I've got a young daughter and my missus. Because of my normal rotation, which I currently work under. I've just come home yesterday and I've got 5 weeks off now, which is pretty much 5 weeks for myself. So I do a normal 3-week stint. Then we have 4 weeks off. Then we do 3 on again. Then we do 5 off. So it works in a 15-week cycle. So
that sort of time off is not normally afforded to most chefs. What sort of impact does that sort of space have on you?
Having that time off is good. Probably something I mentioned previous to yourself is when I'm on my R&R, I do still spend a lot of time in kitchens and stuff, like do a lot of kind of casual work and stuff across Melbourne. So to say I have 5 weeks off is being I'm being a bit adventurous when I say that. But it's 5 weeks away from the site that I normally manage, which it's a good recharge and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's important to have that time away as well, because 3 weeks is a long time spending in that environment. So
feeding a lot of people has been a real feature of your career, but take us back to when you were young. What was food like for you growing up?
I had a love-hate relationship with food when I was a kid. So my mother would say I was very fussy and stuff like that. So catering and cooking and stuff's been in my family for as long as I can remember. Like my mother still runs a cafe in the UK. My mother worked for Sodexo, funnily enough, back in the early 90s. So my first kind of recollection is my mother and my aunt working together in big industrial kitchens, and funnily enough, they still actually work in the industry now back in the UK. So. But a love-hate relationship with food. I was very fussy and stuff like that when I was younger. But always been running about food in kitchens, and and my dad as well. He works in the food industry. He's a sales director. So it's a funny one, but it's the thing I think I've grown into over the years is to be more experimental and try different things. And my missus is from an Asian background, so having that kind of exposure to different flavours and stuff like that it just makes me more interested as I seem to get older. So,
when did you first sort of think about a career as a chef, and what were the first sort of steps into the industry for you?
Yeah, like I said, my mother, and I forgot to touch on my brother. He's a chef as well. So, so pretty much straight from school, I wanted to have a job and I wanted to make money. So as soon as I left school, I was straight into a kitchen, working as a kitchen hand, as you call it in Australia, kitchen porter in the UK. So straight into a kitchen, straight from school, just learning the hard way into the tough environment, a massive kind of corporate style kitchen, and just getting my teeth stuck into all sorts of stuff then. So that's back in 97, 98. So
what were the really important venues for you early on that sort of helped you and guided you in your career?
It's like I've kind of feel like I went full circle, because I did start with Sodexo when I came straight out of school, which was formerly known as Gardner Merchant. So people who don't know what the company is, it's a large facilities catering company. It's worldwide. They do all sorts of stuff from offshore remote, healthcare, education, stuff like corporate dining, sporting events. So I had the kind of luxury to be involved in a lot of bigger things when I was young. Just like large sporting events like soccer, rugby, golf, horse racing, like working in big venues, which was really it was kind of an eye opener, because it's not like your standard restaurant, hotel style kitchen. It's just mass, huge kitchens with huge teams and a lot of stuff going on. So it kind of gave me that idea of things out with like your normal kitchens. But yeah, it was very interesting.
You did a lot of staging early on in your career as well, in different hotels and restaurants. Do you have any stories of those experiences and what you gained from them?
There's a couple of good ones. So I actually went up to like 2-star restaurants in London and done a few after I'd done a big competition in 2012. I got an invite to go do some stages in some places in London and stuff like that. So it was just that environment. And I know what kitchens are like. I've got mates that went totally different avenue to me, who done, like, they're in Michelin backgrounds and all that currently. And for me to go into that environment probably later on in my career, and just to see that, how more refined and regimented and stuff it was. I was a bit older than most of the guys in the kitchens, so that exposure to that standard of food and seeing how these guys work 14, 15-hour days was pretty much a quiet day. So it's a very, very big eye-opener, and it gives you an idea of the different levels of requirements, what you need to put into that level of cooking. So it's very, very, very interesting, which I still have a keen eye on. I still try and keep up to speed what's going on in these kind of levels of restaurants, and if I've got enough money, I try and eat in some nice places. So
in 2005, you teamed up with a food production company in Scotland. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing there.
It's probably not too dissimilar to what a company does in Melbourne currently, a company called City Larder. I don't know if you're aware yet. So City Larder, it was pretty much similar to what they do here in Australia. So we do all the kind of fresh made terrines and all the parfaits and different types of stuffed meats and canopy style food, stocks, sauces, you name it, we could do it. So pretty much whatever the client asked for, we would make samples, send them to the clients, and just they would say, right, we want 5,000 of this to this specification. Just as an example, so we would start preparing stuff for like Christmas orders and all that, maybe mid-year, sometimes May, June. So we would have all these pre-orders in, and we would start like pre-making stuff, freezing it down, because the volumes were so vast. But having that exposure to massive like events when I was younger as well kind of put me in good stead to manage something like that. So yeah, it was an interesting role. Very, very labour intensive, hands on, and a very busy place to work. So, but it was one of the ones. It's an experience out with your standard kitchens and stuff again. But it was a good learning curve.
Feeding large amounts of people has been a real feature of your career. Who's been really key sort of mentors throughout those sort of years as you sort of dived into that world?
One that always sticks in my mind is from very, very young, and probably like the early 2000s would be a guy called Willie Pike, who pretty much took me under his wing at a young age. I ended up working with Willie's son as well in that job that we just spoke about as well. So I became very close to him for a young age. A lot of guidance, a lot of hours spent with him doing events and different kind of training and all that he undertook, and very, very important part of my career. We still keep in touch regular after all the years, and somebody like that always sticks in your mind. So a very, very big character, massive reputation in the UK, and I had the pleasure of working with a really, really good executive chef when I came to Australia called Kelly Jackson. So Kelly's a big part of my journey in Australia as well, which I'm very grateful for. So, yeah.
Do you have any stories of the influence that Kelly's had on you?
So pretty much when I was in the UK, I had this ambition always to come and live and work in Australia. Something that I had previously tried prior to coming here in 2014, which never quite materialised and worked out then. But in 2014, I had the opportunity to come and work at Crown Casino, working in the conference and events team, and Kelly was the person instrumental in getting me here and putting a lot of trust in me and stuff like that to come and work in his team. So we did some of the massive events in Crown that people from Melbourne will be quite aware of. We used to take care of the Logies, the Brownlow Medal. We've done the San Pellegrino Top 100 restaurant event. We've done a Chef of the Year, Executive Chef of the Year. I was assistant to Kelly in that competition he done, and he actually won that competition. So just the stature of the events and stuff like that, the exposure you get. We were working with some really high-end chefs. Like we've done events with Nobu, we've done events with Shane Delia, we've done events with Rockpool. So you name it, we've done huge events, and there's an awful lot going on in that kitchen. So and it's yeah.
You've done huge dinners sort of all over the place. Is there any one that really stands out for you in your career?
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with a mate just about like how many people we actually used to feed and stuff, and I was telling him some numbers. He was quite shocked with the numbers. So big ones that stick out. In Australia, like I said, just touched on the San Pellegrino Top 100. That was more like a cocktail party. Done a big event for the ex-casino owner and his fiancée at the time, Mariah Carey. We've done a massive New Year event for that. Done a couple of smaller ones here in Australia that's kind of stick in my mind for celebrities and stuff like that. And a massive one back in the UK, I done it was more like a charity kind of dinner with my old mentor Willie. It was a Gordon Ramsay kind of charity, so he was the patron for this charity, and it was in the Glasgow Science Centre. It was a massive kind of focus on it for the media and all that at the time, I remember, and that was very, very interesting. Still a bit young and stuff at that time, but just being involved in something like that and seeing it was around about 500 people, but the organisation and the standard of food and stuff that went out like in events like this when I was working was pretty incredible. So,
do you have any stories or about that experience and meeting Gordon?
No, it's just kind of surreal. You kind of think at it at the time. It's like it's not really important at the time, but as time goes on and stuff like that, it kind of sticks in your brain a bit more. Just like I said, I was young and pretty much just a bit wet around the ears, and still picking up a lot, learning a lot and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said before, like Willie, he's a character. Anybody who knows him is he's always wanting to have a laugh and a joke, and he's a very special guy when it comes to dealing with people that are kind of that kind of stature. So yeah, it was just fun, just real fun. Just really good fun and hard work. I remember it always being hard work, which is something I've never been scared of. But yeah, like I said, burning desire. Always from young and from a very young age, I just had this thing in my head that always thinking it just looks so good, amazing there, and everybody thinks it's the beach life, but until you actually come here and experience. Especially Melbourne's so cosmopolitan, and it's not just about beaches and all that in Melbourne, maybe some other states it is, like Queensland, WA and stuff like that, but But for me, when you come to a place like Melbourne, for somebody like me who's very, very food orientated, who loves food and stuff like that, it's kind of a hard place to match. The only place that I've probably in my working career and my life that I've ever said would match Melbourne would be London, so it would be up there. But I would still say Australia, just so Melbourne just edges it a little bit. So,
how much have you changed since living in Australia?
Too much. Too much. For some things I think I've improved and stuff like that as well. Improved as a person and improved as an individual, just like when it comes to work and stuff like that as well. So I've learned a lot for my time that I worked at Crown. So just about organisation and just how to manage yourself as a person in that high pressure environment. So always something that I picked up from my very first couple of years in Australia was the food should be the fun part. So all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes, the organising, all that stuff is the hardest part. So the food was, for me, always, even for the team that were working with me, should be the fun part where you get to have a bit of fun and express your kind of emotions and your kind of background and, to showcase what you can actually do. So, and that's something I feel where I thrive. So like big high pressure environments, but for me, like I said, it's the food's the fun part. So it doesn't matter if it's a dinner for 200, 300 or 2,000 coming out the same kitchen. That should be the part where you're thriving and showing your experience. And so yeah.
Those sort of numbers are pretty crazy for most of us to get our head around. What's really important when you are doing the sort of feeding 2,000 people to get it right?
Like I said, organisation. You need to be very, very thorough in how you have things set up. You have processes in place for everything that you do. So if you have all that set up and the processes, you do your menu tastings, you do your due diligence with your suppliers, make sure you get the best possible ingredients for your menus. So we were always working a year in advance, a year ahead for the next year, just being organised with specifications of our menus, our recipe sheets, our pictures and how the food should look. And so that's all the hard part. So when you go in and you're doing all the mise en place and the organising for the actual events, and you have all the processes and practices in place to make the cooking the fun part. So, but like 2,000 could be a quiet day in Crown event. So, so I remember back to my first 6 months in that kitchen, mate, and I'll tell you, I almost chucked it a few times because it was just so full on. So. But I'm kind of, I made a tougher stuff and I persevered and just kicked on. But it was very, very tough, just getting your head around about everything. But after 6 months, I was just in my groove and just enjoying it. So,
when you're dealing with those sort of high numbers, consistency is obviously very important. But how do you balance that consistency with creativity with such high volume?
Yeah, that's the number one thing that. My boss at Crown always used to just say, like, you can make this dish that looks fantastic and tastes amazing, but the burning question behind every single thing that you do is, can we do this for 1,000 people? So that was always the first question you would get asked. So you would need to have that, like I said, the organisation, the methods in place, how it would work. And yeah, we used to do crazy stuff, like we would get like chicken skin and just scrape all the fat and all that off it and then just get it all translucent, bake it in the oven and have crispy chicken skin as a garnish on a risotto for like 1,500 people. So it's like, so it'd be like, wow, you stand there at like 11 o'clock at night still prepping all this chicken skin and just crazy stuff. So but the processes are paramount to what you do day in, day out. If you don't have all these things in place, like down to the T, then the job just became an absolute nightmare. So, so it's kind of a thing that I was probably all over. Was like I was just about the organising, just making sure everything was done, making sure all the team, all the guys were all over everything they were doing, and if we never had processes and practices in place, then we were not doing things properly. So.
What's it like for someone like you that has to deal with so many staff as well? There's lots of talk about staff shortages and the issues that have come out of COVID. What's it been like for you in that area?
The good thing about the current role that I do, this is probably one of the few good things, but when you go in a remote location, there's no way you can get out. You can only get out by a helicopter. So having staff issues and all that is something that we don't encounter too much when we're on location. We do have people that go down sick and stuff like that, which is only normal, but to be honest, it's something that's not really in the back of your mind too much. But again, we have a big team and all that there, so when things do happen and people do get sick, then it's just reshuffling and reorganising. I'm all about in that environment that we can only do what we can do with the resources that we have, so we can't just call up an agency and say I need 2 chefs or I need this or I need that. So we don't have that luxury. So I always instill in the team and the guys that are working for me that don't be pressured. We can only do what we can do to our time constraints and everything that we have. So I just try and drive that into the guys in that environment. So, but it's something we don't encounter too much, which is good. So.
You've built an incredible career in a very different way to many chefs. What do you love about what you do?
I'm a very food-orientated person. I'm pretty sad, and I'll tell people that when it comes to that. I keep myself up to speed with current things, current trends. Like I said, I try and eat out regular. Like I say, I still do work on my R&R. I work in some other smaller restaurants. I do agency work at events at MCG, at Flemington Races, VRC, still at Crown. I do some work at Crown as well, so I'm always trying to keep up to speed with what's going on. It's like I say, it's just something I love. I love food, and I just love the kind of whole kind of family kind of things that you can do at home. So it just brings everybody together. So sitting around a dinner table and having nice food and stuff like that, it's more of a social kind of thing as well for me. So I just feel like it brings everybody together, and having that kind of background and experience of being organised and stuff like that, for me to cook at home for 10 or 12 people is a lot easier than like my missus in the kitchen, and she so it's just being organised and just trying to make things as efficient as possible. And yeah, cooking a dinner at home for 12 is very simple. So yeah, but it's just a passion. It's been inside me for a long time, and it's one of these things that's going to live with me for probably the rest of my life. I've got my daughter. She's turning 3 in August, and she's already telling my missus, I'm going to be a chef. So I'm saying, no, you're not going to be a chef. No way.
Well, it does sound like it's in the family, so she may well end up being a chef. Well, John, it's been an honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today to hear a part of your story. Please keep in touch, and we'll catch up again soon.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you very much.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.